Golden State also equals 122 in gematria. Anyway, I also pointed out in this post that Mike Brown was born in Columbus, Ohio. Columbus, Ohio is where John Glenn died this year, or in 2016, just before this year. Of course, Columbus, Ohio, named in honor of Christopher Columbus, right? And all of these 35s go back to Catholic. Catholic equals 35. Columbus sent by the Catholic Church, the CC, the Cleveland Cavaliers, the CC. Christopher Columbus, CC. Even the death of Chris Cornell, CC. He died just before playing the next show that they were supposed to play was in Columbus, Ohio. And of course, Soundgarden equals 175 in gematria. Kerr also equals 175 in Jewish gematria. The word Pope equals 175 in Jewish gematria. NASA equals 175 in Satanic gematria. Pope Francis equals 175 in reverse gematria. Golden State equals 175 in reverse gematria. John Glenn died 175 days before the NBA Finals began. And I also put Houston Rockets in here because Houston Rockets equal 175. And like I said in my previous videos, if you just watch all of these Rockets connections, I didn't know for a while when I was talking about all these Rocket stuff, I didn't realize that Golden State had a connection to 175 as well. It was a huge number in regards to why I thought the Cavaliers might play the Rockets and whatnot. Also, Steve Kerr in Jewish gematria equals 1,075. If you take out the zero, in numerology, supposedly you don't use the zero. That's a lot like 175. Steve Kerr and Francis Bacon equals 175. That's where the capital letter, like capital A is worth 27. So lowercase a through z is 1 through 26, and then uppercase A through Z is 27 through 52. Francis Bacon gematria. Also in regards to the number 312 that I was talking about in regards to Rihanna and her birthday being 3 months, 12 days before the NBA Finals begin, just Kerr in gematria equals 312. Also, he was out because of his back, supposedly, and whatnot. All just a show. I mean, no way. Just most ridiculous stuff I've ever heard. But back in gematria equals 91. Spinal equals 91. Spinal fluid leak also equals 91. Remember, space equals 91. Rockets equal 91. Asteroid equals 91. I also pointed out Mike Brown's full name equals 213, like the NBA Finals. And in regards to reverse, 213 is the reverse of 312. Also in regards to the space theme, the day that Eugene Cernan died and the Warriors played the Cavs, that was 111 days after the Jesuits' anniversary. The NBA Finals in gematria equal 111. That game was also 57 days before Eugene Cernan's, what would have been his 83rd birthday, also Steph Curry's birthday. Moon equals 57, but NBA Finals in the reverse reduced method also equal 57. So, and if you watch my Houston Rockets video, I say that this game was one of the only things that was making me still think that it was possibly going to be the Warriors versus the Cleveland Cavaliers. Because although I was being shown all of this space stuff that was connected to my own life and whatnot, it doesn't necessarily mean that team's gonna win. The same thing happened in regards to the Miami Dolphins. All of these connections to the Miami Dolphins were just showing me the Falcons and the Patriots. It's really strange in a roundabout type of way, but that's how it all worked. Even though there was all these connections in my own life to a certain team, that team was actually showing me something different. So it's just something that I need to learn in regards to, I guess, to figure out, to figure out the things that I'm talking about, why they're actually connected to something different. That's something that I'm still trying to piece together and fully be able to explain it and be able to predict things off of that, and eventually it will come. I talk about a lot of things and things that nobody talks about, and then just days later, something in regards to it happens, I even was talking about Eugene Cernan clear back when in November, because Michigan, I don't even remember, something to do with Purdue University and the Michigan Wolverines, and Purdue is where Neil Armstrong and Eugene Cernan both went to school, and they were the first and the last to walk on the moon. And I was talking about how there's a moon theme, and we had the closest supermoon since the year 48, but there was also just some type of space theme going on. Then we got the death of John Glenn. We had the story of Buzz Aldrin being in the hospital. Then we got the death of Eugene Cernan. I'm not necessarily predicting it, but I'm very close to figuring out, a lot more in regards to what I'm talking about. I'm just missing a few things, and I think once I figure that all out, and it's taken time, I've been doing this for almost 3 years now, and, you can't get it right at first. It's a study, you know what I mean? You have to just keep at it and figure out where you went wrong to make it right, But there's a lot to it as well. It's weird. I don't even watch baseball, and I've got the last 3 years of baseball right. But for some reason, the NBA that I used to watch, and I still watch a little bit, I get it close, but I never get it right the last 2 years. I did get Golden State in 2015. And in theory, in what I've been noticing, is that after the World Series every year, there seems to be a significant change in the storylines, and what I'm following from the year before that doesn't make sense. So sometime in November is where I feel like there's like some type of cutoff, and there's a new theme that they kind of introduced that is leading into the next year. And the reason that I say that is because in November of 2015, I was talking a whole lot about this Native American theme in regards to maybe the Kansas City Chiefs, for whatever the reason, being in the Super Bowl. And I kept following the story. And then, of course, at the very end of the year in 2016, we had the Indians in the World Series. And then this year, it seems like the theme is all about flipping the script and reversing everything. That's why the Miami Dolphins were so significant, Flipper the Dolphin, and a whole lot more. So who really knows? It's just a thought that I've had. I'm going to see where it leads me after this next World Series, and then we'll see how things go up. But the last 3 years, it seems like the story kind of changes sometime around November and whatnot. So anyway, with this space theme, I was all and how it's connected. There's Jesuit stuff connected. I started thinking about the Vatican telescope. Maybe we're going to get a story in regards to the Vatican telescope, or possibly not. Possibly it's just something. It's just something that's connecting the space theme to the to the Jesuits, to the Vatican. But who knows? I decided to look this thing up. This telescope is actually supposedly called Lucifer and whatnot. Like, why in the world does the Vatican have a telescope named Lucifer? But the director at the Vatican Observatory, his name is Guy J. Consolmagno. And of course, his name in Gematria equals 191, just like Society of Jesus. He also is a Jesuit. There's more I could say about him. The September 19th birthday, super interesting. Possibly I'll explain that in some other video, but that date is just one of these days that I've been shown since I started making YouTube videos. And I still don't know the full meaning of it all, but it's something super connected to Queen Elizabeth II. And also Pope Francis began his trip to the United States on that day as well. But he went to Cuba first, and he went to Cuba on 9/19, and then he arrived in America on his 923rd day as Pope, went to the White House at 9/23 on 9/23. I also wrote in this blog that as I was reading about this telescope, I get to the part about Lucy. It's talking about Lucy, and it highlights Lucy even. And right when I hear the name Lucy, or right when I see the word Lucy, I hear the TV say the word Lucy. And I'll explain that in a second, but it also talks about how this telescope has to be chilled to minus 213 degrees Celsius, which is interesting because the NBA Finals equal 213. But the TV, and I've never watched this show before, why it was on TV, it must have been on after a DVR show or whatever, you know. I don't know. I don't pay attention to the TV that much. It's usually just cartoons and stuff going on here. But for some reason, randomly, when I'll look up at the TV and all these weird things happen, and I really have no control over it, and that's why it's so amazing to me, and that's why I document some of these things. But the TV show that was on was a show called Man Seeking Woman, and it just so happened to be season 3, episode 3, you know, a lot like 33. It was also on the channel FXX, which F is the 6th letter, X breaks down, it's 24, 2 plus 4, 6. So a lot like 666. This was on June 2nd, like early in the morning when it happened, and that's 135 days after the show originally aired. And I'm talking about the angel Gabriel. If you go back to the very beginning of this video, Gabriel equals 135 in reverse. So I decided to look the show up even more, and it's really funny. Like this guy right here, the main character, his name's Josh Greenberg, which if you've been following gematria channels and whatever else, there's a group of people on YouTube who say that Zachary K. Hubbard is actually Josh Greenberg. And I mean, it's the most ridiculous stuff. It's Dave J's video. You know, he tries to like say that he's the same person, even though I can't stand it when people do that, honestly. I mean, possibly some of these people, these crisis actors or whatever, are the same people. But, I mean, there's tons of people who look like other people all throughout the world. It's like one of the stupidest things to me because it's so hard to prove. It's like the flat earth. It's like so ridiculously hard to actually physically prove without actually going to space yourself, you know? So that's why I don't really cover it. All I'm saying is possibly it's true. I'm not saying that it isn't, and they're not using the same people. But it's just like, I mean, I look like 10 other people, you know. People tell me all the time, you look just like Fulton from the Mighty Ducks or this or that. And I also think there's a real agenda on YouTube of people doing this because they want people seeking truth to look like complete idiots. And then, you know, people get really behind, oh, this is the same person. And then other people are like, you're just stupid, you know, and then it gets proven wrong that it's not the same person. I don't know. It's just something that I just don't think people should be doing, really. I mean, go for it, but don't absolutely say that you know it's that person because, I mean, there's all kinds of people who look alike all throughout the world, you know. It's really just not something that I can stand by, you know, that's all. And, I mean, like, for example, this guy right here, he looks a lot like one of my friends named Jay. And he even his name's even Jay, you know. They're not the same person, but he looks a lot like my friend Jay Mefford. And I haven't seen him in a while, so maybe this is this guy. Maybe he's morphed into him. Highly doubt it. Anyway, moving on. Notice he's 35 years old, though. A big number in regards to the space theme, in regards to the NBA Finals stuff.